Before we start today's episode, I got to clap it up to you guys. You have done an amazing job showing up for the metric side of this channel. We broke the June like record. We broke the June subs record. We are this close to beating the May like record with 4,000 likes away. We can absolutely do it before the end of June. And we are 25 subscribers away from the May subs record of this year as well, which is insane to think. So shout out to you guys. Hit that like button and hit subscribe. It helps grow the channel. So I was thinking about the Denver Broncos 2025 schedule, and I wanted to do something that kind of was a little bit out of the box. I wanted to talk about the Broncos' opponents in 2025, because while there's a lot of people that believe that this is a very tough schedule, I'm not so sure that with how good the Broncos look on paper, that this schedule is all that daunting. Sure, there are some tough matchups to think about, 5 of them in particular. But I don't know that the Broncos' 12-5 season is out of the realm of possibilities, because the Broncos should be a top 10, maybe top 5 team in the NFL this year. So let's start with the toughest matchup of them all. It's actually the first matchup that the Broncos face on this schedule. Philadelphia Eagles on October 5th. And the reason I say that this is the toughest is obviously because not only are they the defending Super Bowl champions, but they have probably the most loaded roster in the NFL. I mean, on both sides of the football. Offensively and defensively combined, the Eagles probably have, if not the best, the second or third best in the entirety of the league. So let's talk about the matchup real quick, because what I kind of want to do in this episode is highlight the strengths of each of the teams without talking about the Broncos at all. Now, obviously, we will make sure that we kind of give a little bit of a breakdown here as to who is going to win or lose this game, in my opinion. But let's start with Philly's strengths. So these are the 5 players that I've highlighted that are probably the best on the Philadelphia Eagles, at least right now. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Zach Bond, Nolan Smith, and Jalen Carter. This defense is probably second best in the NFL outside of the Broncos. It is a very good defense. You saw what they were able to do last year to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. They went after Mahomes and made his life a living hell. I do want to highlight one player in particular. You know who I'm about to talk about, Saquon. He was unbelievable last year. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is a Hall of Famer developing before your very eyes. This was easily one of the greatest rushing statistic seasons I have ever seen. 13 touchdowns, over 2,000 rushing yards, an 85 PFF grade, and 20-plus runs. He did that 17 times. That's nuts. So again, this is a very tough matchup for the Broncos. Now, I do want to make sure that I give my prediction as to who I believe is going to win this game. Unfortunately, this is one of the games I have the Broncos losing. I have them losing 24-17. I think it's close. I think it's lower scoring. And I think this is clearly a battle between 2 heavyweights in the NFL. But I do think that the Eagles squeak it out and win 24-17. Let's go to the very next week, actually, week 6, against the New York Jets. Moose, the Jets are not a good team. How are they a tough matchup? Well, we got to go across the pond. Yo, governor, over in England, isn't it? Yeah, we have to play in London. And that's always tough no matter who you play, because the jet lag that you're going to face is crazy. You play at 7:30 in the morning in U.S. times. It's going to be a really, really tough experience. The team itself should not be hard to handle, considering that it's the Jets, right? But, again, I will do the exact same thing that I did for the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's highlight their strengths. There's 4 for the Jets that I have in my mind. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, and Quinnen Williams. Now, Justin Fields is now the starting quarterback for the New York Jets, but let's be real. Outside of his one-read approach, he's not that great of a quarterback. He's a hell of an athlete, can make moves with his legs, which you're going to have to watch out for. But the one player that I want to highlight is Garrett Wilson. A clear wide receiver one of the top 10 wide receivers, in my opinion, in the NFL. He just hasn't had great quarterback play. But once you get him, a guy like Justin Fields who is athletic, who will obviously favor him as a wide receiver 1 target, I think you're going to see a big, big-time season from Garrett Wilson. Now, again, do the Broncos end up pulling this one off? I do have them winning this one, and pretty convincingly as well. Not to say that it won't be tough, because Heading overseas is always a struggle, but I have them winning this one 27-14 with maybe a garbage time touchdown thrown in for the Jets at the very end to make it a little bit closer than it originally appears. Now, if you agree with my very first two picks, do me a favor. Say yes or say no. Super easy question. Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you don't agree with me, at least let me know why. The only disagreement that I think you could probably say is that we end up beating the Philadelphia Eagles, and I would love to know your strategy for that game. Let's head on to week 3. Houston Texans. This is about 3 weeks later in week 9. And I have said that the Texans right now are a very even matchup for the Broncos. And I believe that to a certain extent. I don't think their defense is nearly as good, but they certainly have some star-level players, some Pro Bowl caliber players on their team, that we have to talk about. Because the guys that make plays for the Texans are really, really good football players. So there's 5 of them, again, like I wanted to point out. C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, a wide receiver, cornerback Derek Stingley, who we'll talk about here in just a second, Will Anderson Jr., and Danielle Hunter. You are probably looking at Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter as one of the best edge rushing duo combos in the NFL. One of the best. I don't know that you could call them the best, but the one guy that I wanted to highlight was Derek Stingley Jr. Outside of Pat Surtain, this is probably the second best corner in the league. He makes the most per year. He's the highest paid cornerback in the league, and he was a stud last year. 18 pass breakups is outlandish. Now, I don't think he's quite at the level of Pat Surtain yet. He's got to prove that he's able to do it year in and year out like Surtain has. But he is a very talented player. So going up, Cortland Sutton will most likely be on Stingley and vice versa. It's going to be a tough one to go on. And I do think, though, that with how good this Broncos defense is, especially this pass rush, and how bad the Texans' offensive line is, I'm going to say the Broncos win this one really close. 24-23. There might be a last-minute field goal that happens in this one, but the Texans are a good football team. Make no mistake about it, they're going to win their division, and they're going to give fits to anybody that they meet in the playoffs. Now, if you believe the Broncos are going to win 10-plus games and also make the playoffs, do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button. We are 25 subs away, like I said, from beating that May sub record. So all you got to do, hit that big free red sub button and lock us in for free Broncos content all year long. Let's go on to the fourth one. The Commanders. And if you would have asked me last year at this time that the Broncos, the Broncos are going to play the Commanders next year, is that an easy win? I would have said, hell yeah. But then Jaden Daniels came around and things changed. So let's briefly break down the Commanders, because while I don't think they're going to be nearly as good as they were last year, I still think that you are looking at a team that is easily going to make the playoffs in the NFC. And that, of course, is led by their stud second-year quarterback, just like Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, who, in my opinion, sorry, Broncos fans, if this makes you upset, but I did think he deserved to win Rookie of the Year last year. He just played too well. He went the furthest in the playoffs. It just kind of all came together for him to win the award. But Terry McLaurin, who might be on the way out there in the D.C. area, we'll keep an eye on it. Marshawn Lattimore, who they recently acquired last year, and Bobby Wagner. Now, out of all the players that are currently on this list, the one that obviously we would want to highlight would be Jaden Daniels. But I don't even think we need to go into his statistical season last year. We know how good Jaden Daniels is. Everybody watched it last year throughout the playoffs. So here's my prediction. The Broncos lose this one. Now, I'm sure you could probably make the argument that the Broncos are a better overall team, and you might be right. But every once in a while, when you go up against a really dynamic quarterback who gives you fits not only in the passing game but in the running game, anything can happen on any given Sunday. And this is one of the games where I actually have the Broncos losing 31-27. It's going to be really close, but these are two really good football teams going back-to-back to each other. And finally, on a white Christmas, the Kansas City Chiefs. This is Week 17. Look, you guys know the Chiefs. I know the Chiefs. We all know the Chiefs. And it felt like last year the Broncos had their number both times that they played. A blocked field goal away from winning that first matchup. And then last matchup, Kansas City rolled out their JV squad. So the Broncos easily won that. It wasn't even a contest. Now, the Chiefs' strength, as it currently is on their roster, Mahomes, Kelsey, Pacheco, Chris Jones, and Rashee Rice. Those are probably the 5 guys that you have to worry about. Kelsey's getting older. His best days are behind him, but Patrick Mahomes is right in his prime. Pacheco is coming back healthier than he was last year, and same with Rashee Rice. But it's Christmas, and I'm feeling very generous to you, Broncos country. They win 30-26. I do think we split with the Chiefs, so I could easily see the Broncos losing that first matchup in Week 11, I believe it is. But the Broncos are going to win one game. And I think you're going to be looking at an orange Christmas in Denver this year. Broncos win 30-26. So my final record prediction still remains the same, 12-5. And I think that is good enough to win the AFC West. And I think the Broncos end up getting either the 2nd or the 3rd seed in this year's AFC playoff seeding. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. Remember to subscribe if you haven't, like the video if you haven't, and as always, be cool.